I was thinking about this recently. That at one point my brother had asked for an arranged marriage with asked my parents to help him find a suitable partner. And I was wondering, I did some research, and surprisingly, arranged marriages have a pretty high success rate. And I was wondering why. So I thought about it a bit, and I realized that an arranged marriage is basically an arrangement of mutual sort of fit, right? So it's made based on practical concerns such as mutual values, goals, financial status, future planning, and things like that. Whereas when you think about it, love is more of an emotion, and emotions are grounded in sort of the present. They're not really based on facts or future planning, projections. In a similar way, if you think about careers, right? So the question of should you pick your career based on what you're passionate about or based on what makes sort of practical sense for your goals? And I actually had a friend who in college was sort of the outspoken one. He was in a class where they were discussing careers and they had this sort of debate. And he was the only one on the side of practicality. And a bunch of people were basically arguing that they should pick based on passion. And he told me the story and how he sort of kept in touch and tracked the people who were most vehemently supporting the passion idea. And I think the majority of them, from what he said, ended up not necessarily happy with their careers in the long run, right? So, like, one of them became a teacher, um, and I think she married a teacher as well. And now she's sort of lamenting that they can't afford to buy a house and they can't really afford to have kids because they're both teachers. My friend, on the other hand, went on to do a bunch of different things, partly marketing, partly tech, but he made a lot more money and he saved up his money and he retired before he was 30 years old. So it's kind of interesting to think about the big difference, right? Like his view is suck it up, do something whether you like it or not, um, and then work like 1/5 of the time that you would have to if you chose, your passion. Now, I think if you genuinely enjoy the work and you can do it for 40 years, then there's nothing wrong with it. But part of the issue is when you're 18 or even 25, you don't really know what you like. You've barely tried anything. Um, you're just envisioning what you think you might be passionate about. But every job has something that sucks about it. And your best chance at liking the job is if you can at least bear with the thing that sucks, or even better, if you actually like it, right? So as a teacher, you might be dealing with unruly kids, or even worse, entitled parents, for example. But not a lot of teachers think about that. They just think of maybe the teaching aspect or the being around kids aspect, whatever they might enjoy, right? The pseudo parenting aspects. The other thing is having a higher pay lets you make up for other things, right? Like you can technically buy back more of your time. You can uh, you can potentially buy things outside of work that help you, like pay for more expensive hobbies or therapy or whatever else might make work more bearable, or some kind of coaching or start your own business, whatever that might be. And the other thing is your skills will tend to, it's a weird paradox, but you tend to get treated better as you get paid more. So the people who are paid more are actually generally putting in less effort. They might be producing more output, but they could be working less hours, right? Like the average programmer is probably on Reddit or things like that multiple hours a day, right? They're not spending the entire day actively coding. But the average janitor is probably spending their entire shift cleaning, or most of it, right? The average call center agent is tracked pretty closely. So you're not going to be paid that well, and you're not going to be treated that well either. So it just makes a lot of sense to pick a high paying job where you will be treated better, and generally you'll have more freedom and agency to decide how you spend your time. The other thing is generally in higher paying jobs, you have better career progression, you have a path. It's not a dead end job usually. There's a path towards leadership or um, some form of ownership in some sense, right? It might come with equity or stock options. But to go back to the arranged marriage idea, right? So The two parents who are more experienced than the children are coming together to plan and discuss mutual fit based on practical concerns. So it's far more likely to succeed if they agree than two people based on their emotions and mood in the moment sort of deciding, all right, let's spend the rest of our lives together. Because it's a long commitment, right? A lifelong commitment. A lot of things can change. But if you can at least get the foundation right, right? Like that you both, for example, want kids or don't want kids, or your financial values, right? Do you want to save a lot? Do you want to spend a lot? How many vacations a year? And so on. If you don't have those conversations, there's bound to be incompatibility. So whether it's with your career or relationships or anything else, it's worth putting the practical first and then seeing how you can fit a practical version of the plan into whatever you actually like or enjoy. Because you can, in the end, have both, right? It's just if you only pick based on what you like, you're likely to be disappointed in the long run because it just won't be practical. It won't work out.